Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and all that good stuff. You're just gonna get me today, so there is that. Lindsay is working on some motion that she's supposed to do today, so just me today. I got a few questions that I was able to quickly pull out from last week's live, and if anybody has any questions, pop in and we'll get going. I guess I'm just drinking alone today. Well, I'll bring Lindsay a glass after this. A little bit of a late start today. I had technical problems again. Of course, it's been fine for a while, and now it's not working again. Oh, glass chipped. That's crazy. Glass is dirty. Who washed these glasses? Oh man, so I hope you guys all had a fantastic weekend. Hopefully it was flies. Hopefully it was productive. Nice, solid, productive week. I have been working on this thing among other things. So that's been good. Oh, we got a thumbs down already. That's good. All right, so a couple things. I got my glasses here from April. I think was it tomorrow? Tomorrow would have been the grand opening of for Woodshed. So I got my souvenir cups. It's kind of sad, but there's those, I guess. I was looking forward to going. If it was not the middle of a pandemic. All right, so quick little update or info for you on the Workbench Kits. If you are interested in the kits, the fall batch is completely sold out at this point, and I think there are still 4 spots available in the winter. Fall batch is going to ship September, October, and then the winter batch is the December, January ship period. So if you're, on the fence about a Workbench kit, there's still some spots for winter. Otherwise, be pushing towards next year sometime. So it seems like it's something that people like, so we will keep doing it. Oh, thanks, Alf. Awesome, thank you. Oh, everybody's saying hello. Just having a good time. House hunting update. Nothing. The coronavirus hasn't really helped with new listings either, so it's been pretty slow for like the busy time of year for listings. So yeah, nothing. We haven't seen a house in like 5 or 6 weeks. It's nuts, absolutely nuts. Straight to the drinking. Well, yeah, this is. I wait all week for this. October in Minnesota could also be winter. I mean, October at any point, any day could just all of a sudden just, now it's winter. There's like no transition. Now it's winter. I have a little bit of a update, I guess, on the trailer videos I got. So hopefully you noticed that I posted one this week on the paint job that I did on it. I just finished the video on the rest of the wiring and the lights, which is like the rest of the build. That video will be out next week when I'm done with everything else that goes along with that. And then the last video in the series will be on the trailer registration, which will come out sometime afterwards. I'm probably going to have this week, so this past week, and the next week will both be trailer video weeks. And I might have something else in between and then have the wrap up for the trailer build. So look for those in the future. I'm happy to be to the end of trailer stuff because it's been going on for way too long. It's been too long of a build. I got a haircut, and I had this funny comment from Agnes last week asking if I'm looking clean cut. Am I going to get a corporate job? I don't think I could ever be employed ever again. I'm ruined. That's always the or one of the sayings or philosophies or whatever of going on your own is you become unemployable, which I totally agree with now. I don't think I could ever do a normal job ever again. I've been ruined. It is sad, but I got my souvenir mugs, so I'm happy. Well, I give a total on the trailer when it's done. Do I have the papers in here? I thought I had them in here. I shot that video like last week or 2 weeks ago on the wrap up. I give a full cost breakdown of what I spent, how much it weighs, what the whole process is for getting it registered, and all that. My total cost with registration ended up being about $7 and change, 7,200, something like that. Registration was $500. A Vanity. How's that looking? So last week we just had the top with the 4 uprights or the 6 uprights, whatever were installed. And this week I added all of the bottoms and these little trim pieces on the front, which make it all look like 3 mitered boxes smushed together. So I think that looks pretty darn good. It's coming along. It's a fun little project. You know, there's a lot of detail work, or like, I guess detail work is the best way to put it, because to get all of these miter cuts to line up perfectly all the way around the case it takes a level of precision, I guess. It's not difficult. It just takes some working through. So I find myself liking those kind of projects. So anyway, this thing is going to be a little dressing vanity. This is the main case. So the project will be over in the guild, and you can build it as either a dressing vanity or like a desk. Basically, you can customize it if you want. So the next thing for this to make it the full dressing vanity is going to be to have 2 more drawer compartments that kind of sit on top, as well as the mirror, and then some legs, and then drawers, obviously. So you can just do this, throw some legs on it, and be done with it. Now you got a desk, or you can make the little compartment things and a mirror that goes on top. So I think it's gonna be a fun little build. A lot of interesting things in here. Okay, so now I have to do this whole like watching the comments by myself thing, which is never fun. The Workbench Kits, yes, you can come pick those up. If you don't want me to ship them to you, fantastic. I'll have them ready for you. You can come pick them up. Get out of here, flies. Go over there by the bug zapper. I have never worked with bamboo plywood. I can't say I've worked with a lot of plywood either. I have something else on here. I think from last week, Rusty asked if I have plans for the sawmill I built. Yes, I actually put a link to the plans in the description of this live stream if anybody is looking for plans for the sawmill, which I was playing with last week and a little bit this week. And I love the thing. It's so much fun. Okay, most complicated thing I've ever made. I guess that's a furniture project. I guess we'll narrow it down to that. Probably the secretary desk. That one is much more complicated than the highboy, just because of the desk gallery. You have a lot of angles and curves and things going on there with the whatever the piece is that goes in there. I don't know. It's like the bottom piece, and that sets the curvature for the entire gallery drawers and the prospect box area too. So just the desk area of a slant top desk, or slant top desk, whatever they're called, that is super complicated. At least the first time you do it. If I did it again, it would be too bad, but there's a lot going on there. So if you look at secretary desks and you see ones that just have a flat gallery, you're like, that's nothing. The cool ones have all the curves with all the drawers that are curving all over the place. So I'm gonna stick with the secretary desk on most complicated thing I've ever made. Suggestions on woods to use. If you're actually going to put it outside, your typical outdoor woods are going to be sort of higher on the list. If you're looking at just domestics, white oak or black locust would be amazing. Thermally modified ash, that's what I use. That stuff is it's nice. It works really well, and it's cheaper than exotics. If you get into exotics, pretty much like anything is going to be good for outside. They have so much oil in them, but your traditional ones like teak would be a good option if you want to really spend some money. Mahogany, I think, is also decent enough for outdoors, but yeah, not poplar for outdoors. Or like hard maple. There's a lot of sugar in those. Those will rot pretty quickly. I've had a traditional job. I wouldn't really call it corporate because it was small to medium-sized business, so not like huge, but there was an HR department. So does that make it corporate? What's that like line of like this is corporate and this is not? Is it an employee count or just a culture? I don't know. Hello from Scotland. Hello there. Hello. A week and a half to build a shop. That's pretty quick, I would say. Mark is, always out to get me. That's the one constant in life is that Mark is going to be trying to get me for something. I think I'm done with this. Put it over there. So stop looking at it. I'm not doing a hand carved mirror, so I'm just doing. So the theme on this, or inspiration, I guess, is more like mid-century modern. So the mirror frame is going to be very similar to this with a large bevel going into the mirror area. So it's actually going to be a very simple thing to build once all the other stuff is done, which is going to be pretty darn nice. Good day from Australia. That's away. Look at this guy. This Jared. So, actually, look at this. I forgot about this. So, last week, Jared came up after the live thing last week. We had this little dinner together, and then the next day we what we do? We played on the sawmill for a few hours before we headed back, and Jared now has my old trailer. So look for that over on his channel and his Instagram and his Facebook at some point. But he also got these little plasma cut signs that he dropped off. So that's license plate size. You might have to put that on something someday. I'll find somewhere for this. So the old trailer has left. It was bittersweet because I was excited to get rid of it, to get it out of the way, and because that means if that one's gone, I can start using the new one. But I have so many memories tied up with that trailer, just all the times I used it. And not only that, when I acquired that trailer, it was like at the beginning of me venturing off into this business. I didn't have a whole lot of like money back then, and that was like the time like right before my son was born. So it was like my last memories of doing things before I became a father. So it was an interesting time in my life, and that physical object happens to be tied to a lot of those memories. So I will miss it, but I'm happy that it's off to a good home where it's going to continue its life as a log recovery tool and device. So it was awesome hanging out with you, Jared. Thanks again for making the trip. It was like, 8 hours? He came up from central Illinois, so it was a haul. But hey, I let him run the bandsaw mill, so hopefully that was worth the trip in itself. I have not made a roll top desk. I don't really have any plans to, so maybe, but I don't really like them that much, at least the traditional ones, so maybe something else with the tambour door on it or lid or whatever. would be kind of nice. I really like those arm wires with the vertical ones. Those are cool. I might do one of those. In a previous hour, it was mentioned I was born in Canada. What region? As fellow Canadians would love to know. I was born in the city of York. So there you go. I always forget the name of the hospital I was born, but it was in York. So for those of you who don't know, that's like the Toronto area. Is it really $85 per board foot per teak? That can't be right. That has to be wrong. That's... No. Really? Somebody fact check that. Quick. Certain projects that I find more enjoyable than others. Sort of. This is probably not a good answer, but projects that are the most enjoyable to me are the ones that I'm most passionate at that moment about. So if the nice thing about what I do is I don't necessarily have to make things when I'm not passionate about them or if I'm not passionate about them at all. So I have that sort of advantage. But like, I've been having a lot of fun with this little build here because it's not hard. There's a process to it, but you just step through it and it kind of comes together and the results are fairly profound, I guess. I've never made anything like this too. So that's the other thing that I love about like things I'm passionate about, things I've never done before. I just don't enjoy repetitive things like the same exact project over and over again. If I had to make this like once a year, I would not enjoy it. But because this is the one that I'm making now and I will probably never make one ever again, that's why I enjoy it. So that's my terrible answer to the question. How would I finish a redwood outdoor rustic table? I think redwood's pretty rot resistant and resilient in itself. So I guess the revelation I've had in the last few years on outdoor finishing is you have like two different streets you can go down. So you can go down the thick, heavy varnish, which will last multiple seasons, but it is an absolute pain in the butt and a nightmare to refinish because you're stripping it all, you're sanding it all back down, removing all that varnish, and then doing the finishing process again. Versus something that's more like a protective oil, where you just apply that oil once a year, twice a year, the first year maybe, and it just becomes a maintenance thing. The maintenance isn't a huge like commitment. It's not really all that much work, but you have to do it more often. So it's like, do you want to do more work less often, or do you want to do, more work but more often, or I guess less work less often, more often, less work more often. There we go. So the farmhouse table has the heavy varnish on it. The nice thing about the farmhouse table is the top itself is sacrificial, and it's also the easiest thing to refinish because it's a big flat surface. Contrast that to the outdoor bench, which has an oil finish on it because it would be a nightmare to refinish that thing. What is ticking? I guess I just mute that. There's spindles and like the inside corners and sides of things. It would be terrible trying to strip varnish off that thing every few years. So something like that, I don't think it's worth it to try and make it last multiple years. Just put an oil on it and refresh it every year. In theory, that should be good enough. Hey, thanks, Joseph. I hope you had a good week. I haven't sawn cottonwood, but if it's that big, I would consider it. Oh, someone from Barrie. It's not too far from where I grew up. Alliston. Oh yes. It's everybody thinks I like an Aftermarks live show. I don't. Can you tell? Like, I don't care that much. I want to keep this informal because then it's not as much stress to do it. So, yes, last week we did the announcement for the giveaway for the set of 4 chair kits. That was Nathan Roper, I believe. That sounds right. It was Nathan. Pretty sure it was Roper. So he won the credit for 4 chairs last week, and that's cool. I was just blown away by it. The amazing response to the chair kits. These flies. Go over there. Go hang out by the bug zapper. Okay, so yeah, I think 25 board foot is more what I had in mind for teak. But I'm sure it does vary quite a bit depending on where you're at. You know, a pie safe is on my bucket list. That's something I really have wanted to make for probably like 8-9 years now. I think punching the tin would be like the most tedious thing in the world, but it'd be kind of fun. Put that on the list of things you should keep hounding me about to make, because I actually want to. Okay, so 45 a foot where Michael's at. $31. All right, so I haven't hung up the guitar, mostly because, well, I don't have anywhere good to hang it right now. Eventually, I like to have a real office and hang it in my office, and keeping it in the case at least somewhat protects it from my kids. Somewhat. It's a very somewhat statement because they do find their way into that case every now and then. It's no longer tuned. Not that I would know any better. But they found out they can turn these little knob things and I make the strings looser, and then I just take the strings completely off. So there's that. The cavities, I'm assuming you're talking about these things, they'll get waxed after finish once the drawers are in there. So this is very, very, very largely based on the Vanity from West Elm. I think it was from West Elm, one of those. Basically, I said, hey, Lindsay, pick out a Vanity you really like. And then she was like, this is what I like. And I'm like, okay, so what can I change to make it less like theirs? And she's like, nothing. So the most of the design is going to be pretty much straight up verbatim of what they have for sale on their site. But the one difference I'm going to have is going to be in the legs. The legs on theirs are turned. I'm not really feeling the turned legs. It's got turned legs and turned braces. So I'm just doing straight tapered legs. And display tapered legs. That's my contribution to the style, I guess. Because they're cool. They look cool. They got punched tin panels. How cool is that? They are inexpensive, but again, I ain't playing it, so as long as the strings look like they're supposed to be attached to the guitar in the right correct thing, I'm fine with that. If someone wants to come over and play it, they can tune it themselves. Ah, cavities on the trailer, yeah. I got the access holes for the galvanizing dip that never got used, so I'm going to wax that bad boy at some point, whenever I get around to that. Resources for recommendations for learning to turn. So I learned the hard way, which is grab a gouge or a skew or whatever and just get on the lathe and start going, make all the mistakes, almost kill yourself a few times, and then you'd be somewhat okay at turning. Ashley Harwood's courses over in the guild are really good. I watched a few of those and I'm like, where was this 10 years ago when I was trying to figure out how to turn a bowl? So check those out if you would like. There's a lot of great turners here on YouTube as well. I don't particularly watch a whole lot of turning, but Carl Jacobson, the man, the OG of instructional turning videos, definitely check him out. He's got a lot of stuff. I think more than anything, though, with like a lot of things in woodworking, you just got to get time on the lathe. That's going to be the biggest thing. There you go. See? Just put it on the calendar, and then I have to make it. That's how it works, right? So for designing stuff for the computer, I use SketchUp. I am by no means good at it at all. But I am proficient enough where I can get my ideas down far enough, or to the far enough point that they need to be. So if I'm doing something that's not going to have plans and it's just for me, I don't draw any joinery. I don't really draw a whole lot of the details. I just need to get some critical dimensions for things, maybe get a feel for how things are going to look, and that's all I need. If I'm doing plans for something, I might take a little bit further, enough to convey enough of what I'm planning to do to the whoever's going to do the actual plans for me. So if it's going to be a guild project, it's going to be Brian. He takes my really, really crappy SketchUp model and somehow transforms it into whatever it is that he magically does, and it becomes this amazing, like, perfect model in SketchUp along with all the plans, and that's how that usually works. But at least for me, like, I don't really need a whole lot of details for myself. Like for this, where my plans go for this, there they are. This is all I drew for this, just so I knew how long the top was going to be, how long all these pieces are going to be, and just get a feel for the height difference in the middle drawer versus the outside drawer and the placement, or how wide they're going to be. So that's all the information I needed to get to this point, and this is all I'm going to have for the rest of the project. For the little drawer things on top, I'm not going to draw anything for those. They'll be in the plans when the guild project comes out, but I know they're going to be this big, they're going to be this deep, and I'll just make the boxes and make drawers to fit in them, and that's all the information that I personally need. I don't really have any recommendations on turbines because I don't have one. I don't really ever use one. I use that Rockler HVLP thing on the trailer. That was the first like self-contained turbine unit I've ever used. It seemed to work okay, but a lot of people said there's a lot of overspray, so you can't really. I probably could have tuned it better, but I don't know. I'm not a good person to ask on spray finishing. What large piece of farm or construction equipment have you never used but want to try one day? I mean, I've run a mini excavator, so like a full-size excavator would be a lot of fun. Maybe a bulldozer, that'd be kind of fun too. I don't know. I haven't done it. I have a very limited experience with large, heavy equipment. So at this point, like anything. I think excavator would be fun though. You could dig a hole. I like digging holes as a kid, so big like 40-ton excavator. That'd be kind of fun. I got a few more minutes here. I gotta go take care of the kids. Whew. I'm gonna scroll back up here. I think I missed some stuff. Yeah. All the pie thieves. Any tips on resawing hardwoods like Purple Heart? Just go slow. So if you are, let's say you're resawing on a bandsaw, if you're having problems with the saw having enough power to get through the cut, you can make you can do like a 2-cut thing on the table saw where you cut as deep as you can on both top and bottom at the table saw, which leaves you a little bit of meat in the middle to disconnect with the bandsaw. That way you're not cutting through the full, height of the piece. You're only cutting through, whatever the remaining bit in the middle is. A sharp blade is number one. If it's dull, especially with something dense like Purple Heart, it's not going to go so well. So if your blade is sharp and you have a low tooth count, I'm itchy all of a sudden, that's going to help quite a bit. So power, tooth count, sharpness, things of that nature are going to help out a lot. But one thing you can do is if you are feeding too quickly, you will see that blade deflect because you're packing the kerf with sawdust and causing that blade to flex as you're pushing it into the piece of wood. Do I consider CNCs as woodworking? Yep. Hate it or not, there's wood is being worked. The biggest log I've milled it's probably the one I have on there right now. That thing is crazy big. Well, it's not crazy big. It's pretty big. It's like, 4 feet wide at the minimum, all the way down, and then it splays in some spots to 5 and change, 10 feet long. It's really big. I'm looking forward to having that that thing cut and that video out because it was an adventure. Also because last week, before I started cutting it, I decided that the way that it came off of Dan's trailer, who brought it by, was not the correct orientation I wanted to cut it in. It was 90 degrees turned the wrong way. So I decided, hey, I'm going to turn this log. It took me a long time to turn that log. Like, I had a couple hours just to get it to roll 90 degrees. That's all I did. Question from James on the trailer. For the arch attachment points of the hinge pins on bearings or bushings, did you include any lube fittings? So I did not use any bearings or bushings in there, and there are no lube fittings. So a couple of considerations on the pivot points. So first off, I don't really think bearings or bushings are particularly necessary on that apparatus, just from the fact that the number of loaded cycles the thing will experience in its lifetime is fairly limited when you compare that to like a piece of machinery where you have things moving all the time fully loaded. So on my old trailer, I didn't have any bearings or bushings on those, and the pivot pins and the holes in them after 4 years of use show no signs of wear whatsoever. So I don't really think it's super necessary because you have so few cycles in the grand scheme of things. I didn't include any lube fittings. I don't like to lubricate that pin. That gives me a little bit of friction in there, and it allows for the arch to stand by itself past vertical in either direction a little bit because there is friction in the pin. Otherwise, if it's too loose, it'll flop over. So it's more convenient to have a little more friction in there so the thing stays upright on its own, so you can change rigging or whatever without having to worry about falling over too much. So that's what I do. All right, I gotta head in. Thank you as always, everybody, for stopping by and spending some time with me. Just me today. Next week, we'll see if Lindsay will be done with her motion. She started that thing at 4 a.m. Still going. So if I didn't get your question this week, I will run through the chat before our next live show, pull out questions that I missed. So thank you, as always, everyone, for stopping by. Have a fantastic weekend. Hope you had a great week, and I will see you sometime next week.